I'm Emily Mashak, and you are listening to Tuned Into NoCo, Town Square Media's show that lets you know what matters in NoCo. I'm talking today with Craig Secher, the president of Realities for Children, a nonprofit that helps at-risk children in our community to see how COVID-19 is affecting their organization. Thank you for talking with me today, Craig.
Yeah, you bet. I appreciate you getting this messaging out with it coming up on National Child Abuse Awareness Month. We're, faced with more challenges than ever, and it's always good to get people to be a little bit more aware of what's going on.
We're happy to have you. Let's start off with the basics. How is the coronavirus affecting Realities for Children?
Well, the coronavirus is affecting, obviously it's affecting our entire world, but as far as in the world of child protection and immediate services, it's a very unique challenge. In fact, it's very counterintuitive. Most of what we work with, day in, day out, in keeping our children safe is keeping them seen. A big part of what we try to do is avoid social isolation and separation and kind of quarantine dynamics that are what we're working on right now to keep our country safe. But it really is puts many children at a much higher risk because we don't have those eyes, those mandatory reporters, those observations that can share with us if we're concerned about a child's safety. And that goes along with domestic violence, intimate partner violence as well.
Mm-hmm. How are you working to combat these situations while under the stay-at-home order?
Well, there's a lot of great things that are going on. I think one of the things that we really need to let people know about is that child protection is probably one of the most essential businesses in the sense of it is open, and people need to know that if they have concerns of safety, that our intake workers, our child protection screeners are still operating intake. We're having to adjust things to follow Center for Disease Control's guidelines so that we're still being respectful and honoring the stay-at-home order. But first things that we need to be taking care of is making sure that our children are safe. So some of the things that we're doing obviously includes we're helping to assist with sexual abuse counseling services that are being done by video, so they can do more of these kind of still check in and see the kids. We are definitely seeing a higher rate of emergency service needs. So one of the first things we did, and if you're familiar with our organization, we partner with 39 different nonprofit agencies in Larimer County. So we're all working together collaboratively. And I'd say, many of the nonprofit community are really rising to this occasion, going above and beyond to make sure that our children are safe. Because in addition to the children that we're not seeing, we have the issues of our open cases and the cases of children that we know have been physically, sexually abused or in the middle of care. Separation and not being able to have that contact can be a trigger for many of our kids that are in placement currently. So we're working really hard to maintain contact with these kids, be able to have virtual visitations. I know many of our organizations have set up special ways to communicate with these kiddos. One of the things that we're doing out of our organization is to really work to be taking the lead in the support side of that, so that we're opening up additional emergency resources because, as you can imagine, as these kids feel the stress or as they're having more issues or they're not getting the same support that they need, we have issues of them really struggling, and we want to make sure we have the emergency needs there when they need it. And we're also opening up additional financial resources specifically around additional demands that are coming at us because of the COVID virus and what we're dealing with. And obviously, our children, in many cases, are at a higher risk of exposure. I mentioned the drop in people being able to see kids that may be at risk, and statistically, it's pretty overwhelming. If you look at 3 days last week compared to 3 days the same time the year before, and we're seeing a 66% drop in calls on concerns of child abuse, neglect, those sorts of things, is simply because these kids are not being seen. We're talking about an averaging a year ago 31 referrals a day, dropping down to 9 referrals a day. And the fewer eyes that we have on the health and safety of children, we're not able to be there and support them when they need us the most. So we really need people to be aware. So education about how they can continue to be aware of what's going on is key. Another big issue that we're dealing with but I'm looking forward to supporting right now and trying to get ahead of, is our concerns for the stability of our placements. So where we have children in placement, those families continue to get the support that they need, those foster homes and kinship placements, so that they're being supported and we don't fail these placements, because we already have a very stressed foster care system, I should say, very taxed as far as having enough foster homes for our children. We start having more failed placements because of lack of support. That's going to be a very big problem. Of course, service access is an issue. Housing support to homeless families continue to be a bigger issue with this. And even dealing with our newly emancipated youth that really have no support out there and see a lot of their revenue coming from the service industries that are at risk. So there's there's a lot of concerns that come along with the COVID virus, in addition to the day-to-day issues that we face when it comes to child abuse and prevention.
Now, you mentioned that education is really important, especially for being able to see kids who are going through these struggles. Can you talk a little bit about what people should be looking for?
Yeah, and maybe I can speak a little bit more to ways that they can be involved. I think we've all been really pulled inward with a lot of the concerns for safety and really for public health. It isn't a selfish thing to be doing that, but we have to remember that children that are at risk of this being isolated is a very dangerous place to be. And I think it's timely that we're talking about this, and probably this year more than ever with National Child Abuse Prevention Month in April. The key to that month and what that's all about is raising public awareness about the issues of child abuse and neglect, and then really recommitting our efforts and resources aimed at protecting children and strengthening families and promoting community involvement. So the first thing I would say in promoting community involvement is, as I mentioned, noting that our child protection screeners are still working. They're still operating at an intake level and hearing those reports as they come in. So I'd like for everybody to know what to do if they have concerns, that we have a Colorado hotline number that they can call. Can I share that with you?
Yes, please do.
The Colorado hotline number is 1-844, then CO, as in Colorado, 4 kids. So CO, the number 4, KIDS. So 1-844, CO4 kids. And you can call that hotline anytime, and that gets directed locally to where we need to be. But to answer your question about what people can do, I would say at this point, if you had those concerns about a child, I mean, the eyes that are normally seeing our kids, if you think about it, are our teachers, doctors, even family members that may have had some concerns about sort of things for children that are at risk. Try to have a face-to-face virtually. Obviously, we want to be respectful of and cautious for the public health issues, but what you don't get in just a phone call. I mean, definitely make a phone call if you can talk to somebody. That helps. Being able to do just some of that is reaching out and checking in. And I encourage people in all circumstances to do this right now. It's overwhelming for folks that are at higher risk. Making that phone call and checking in on them. If they're at higher risk of contracting the virus, I look at this as the same thing when you're concerned about a domestic violence situation or a potential child abuse and neglect scenario. That you make that phone call. Try to do maybe it's a FaceTime or it's a video conference or something where you can just say, "Hey, I just wanted to see your face, see how you're doing." And I think being able to check in and you'll be able to read a lot more if you have concerns. And I'd say if you do have concerns, the next thing I let people know is make that phone call. It's not your job to have to discern, was this right, was this wrong? It's okay to let somebody else make that discernment if need be. So I think those are some of the first steps we need to do, is be aware that this is still ongoing and that we all have a responsibility collectively to be available for our kids in our community.
Earlier you said that children at risk are actually more at risk for contracting coronavirus. Is that correct?
Well, what I'm stating when I say that is because of the population we work with, there's oftentimes we don't have the same separation, especially when we're dealing with homeless families and those sorts of things. So the risk factor being that it's more difficult to stay, to be able to take some of the same precautions as that we're being advised to do. So I think we're already just wanting to make sure that we're keeping our children as safe from this virus as we possibly can. We're working towards education with our families and with our community leaders to really continue to keep that messaging out of what we do for cleanliness and how we're able to protect ourselves at every level of that. So that was more my reference there. They're not necessarily having the same resources to do the same protection level that we all can necessarily. So That's not a blanket statement, but certainly something that we're concerned about.
Now, April is Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. What does Realities for Children have planned for April?
So, as I mentioned earlier, National Child Abuse Prevention, I call it Prevention and Awareness Month. We really want people to be aware of what we're dealing with. I try to put that into perspective when you think of, I mentioned earlier about seeing the drop-in calls that we're averaging about 31 calls of child abuse reports a day in Larimer County. Last year in Larimer County, we received 6,883 new referrals that came in concerns of child abuse in Larimer County.
Wow.
So there is a very significant need. We live in a beautiful, affluent, wonderful, giving community, but that doesn't negate the issues of child abuse, neglect, abandonment, sexual assault. And I think that the key that we need to let people know is this is happening. So the first thing I like to, in our campaign that we want to be putting out there, one is recognizing, that this does occur, letting people know, and then I think the next step we need to be doing is how do we get involved? How do we, as a community, kind of recommit our efforts and resources towards protecting our children in our community? And so part of our campaign through the month of April will be education about the problems, the issues, and the great organizations, the great things that are going on, for kids in the community. And with the Realities for Children program, as I mentioned, we're blessed to work with 39 different local nonprofit partners, including the Department of Human Services, every day. And so we work as a collaborative group, and you can go to our website and go to, about Realities for Children, click on partner agencies there, and it'll have a list and a description and a link to every one of these amazing organizations. And so part of the education and awareness is also, not just about what the problems are out there, but how people can get involved individually, and whether that's volunteering, whether that's donating, or just being more aware and helping be a voice out in the community for the children that we serve. So that's one key element to the campaign. And of course, just doing what we do every day and being able to share with you, our core services in the community and what we're doing as far as, Realities for Children is concerned. That's a big part of what we want to be putting out there too. So as far as what we do every day for our kids, one of the things we are is a county-wide safety net. We are the place that virtually all of these agencies turn to when they have emergency needs that aren't funded elsewhere, or either that or resources are already exhausted or unavailable for some reason. In 2019, Realities for Children responded to and provided emergency services and support for 3,458 children. If you do the math on that, we're meeting the emergency needs of more than 9 children every single day, 7 days a week, year-round.
Wow.
So it's a big part of what we're trying to do in this campaign is make people aware how they can get involved. And I think one of the things that's particularly powerful right now is the way we're designed, the way we're able to unite and work with 39 different nonprofit agencies so collaboratively so that we can be that best continuum of support, is also because of another great group of people that are involved with our organization, and that's business leaders. We have over 250 local businesses that are members of Realities for Children. And we have to remember, too, another big impact of this of the COVID-19 crisis is how much it's affecting our local businesses. And these are leaders that have been there for our children year-round, every single day. Right now, we're encouraging more people than ever to know who these business leaders are. And you can get that complete list on that same About section under our website at realitysforchildren.com. And choose to do business with them whenever you need their services. That's a real easy way to do something you're going to spend the same time and same money anyways, and support a business that's helping our children. And what they're able to do is they underwrite all the administration of the charity. So when someone does choose to make a donation to Realities for Children, not only is it going to an entire demographic, meaning all of these organizations have access to these resources when they need it, But 100% of that donation goes to direct services and programs for our kids because we don't have the administrative costs taken out of there because of these business leaders. So just trying to let people know that there's great ways they can be plugging in and supporting not just one another in the community, but also the business leaders that really help provide so many of these services for our kids.
Yeah, that's awesome. You kind of talked about it already, but what are other ways that people can volunteer or help out Realities for Children?
You know, one thing that we've seen is having a bigger demand right now with shut-ins and those sorts of things is a newer program that we created. And it's about creating this kindness connection in our community. I'm a big fan of, you know, a rising tide lifts all boats. When we're working all together, you know, and I think we see that right now. We need to come together as a community in the country and a world to protect one another from this and do what we can do. And I think the same thing happens locally when it comes to services, why we have this network of businesses and why we have this network of agencies. But we created a program that really is creating a closer kindness connection directly between community members and our children when they go into placements or have certain needs in placements. And that's called, we have a portal online that's called Kind Connect, where you go to RFC, as in Realities for Children, kindconnect.org. And this is where people can sign up to be donors of items. So if they have items that kids are needing when they go into placement, you can make that donation from your home. And we actually have delivery teams that are trained in background check that can pick those items up and do delivery. So right now we're spending a lot of time reaching out to people and saying, look, we're looking to build that donor base as we really keep picking up these needs. We want more people to be plugged in and be aware of what's needed for items when children go into placement in real time. And we need more delivery people that have maybe the truck and the inclination to be able to do that. They go through a background check and a sensitivity training piece that we do because they do have direct contact with our families. And it just creates right now, I think the big thing is we're really working to build that network of donors and delivery people that help us to respond in real time to our children's needs. So I definitely encourage people to check that out, learn more about that. And then another thing that came up is real specific item needs for our kids right now. And on our main page to our website, you can go and see. There's a link right on the main page at realitysforchildren.com that says ways to help our children during this crisis. And there'll be a list of items that are specifically being looked for and how we can collect those things from people. That's everything from thermometers to toys and board games and arts and crafts, just because so many of our children are home right now. Hygiene items, which are a big issue, diapers for our kids. A lot of things that you would think that come into this, but we got to also realize that so many of our children, with them all being home from school right now, there's a lot more educational supply needs for those kids as well.
Well, thank you so much, Craig, for talking to me about how we can all help and for all that you and Realities for Children does and is doing to help our at-risk children.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I think this is one of those things that we're going to come out of this. I've been sharing a story saying life is a grindstone, whether it grinds us down or polishes up, depends on what we're made of. And I think when we come together in these areas, when anyone's in need of support, we polish ourselves up. We show the community what we're made of. And I'm faithful that all of us working together, we're going to come out of this stronger. But it definitely takes people connecting right now, and that's what we're all about, is connecting our community in a way that can make a real difference and make sure that no child's forgotten.
I love that. Thank you so much, Craig.
All right, thank you.
Again, that was Craig Secher, the president of Realities for Children. To learn more about how you can help our local at-risk children during this time of COVID-19, visit realitysforchildren.com.